Are we gonna finish before Nigma plays?
Well, how
It's
long is
very
that?
important to me.
Wait, when does
Very
Ligma
good.
play?
Nigma plays after this Mo's entity fissure.
Is it rolling?
I don't know.
Why is that important to you outside of it?
I love Miracle. What team?
Welcome, Curtis. Thank you for joining us. Thank you
No
for
problem.
taking the time. When do you? So you came back home. When do you fly out again?
I think we're gonna boot camp for Riyadh like on the 20th. I'm not too sure on the dates yet.
Okay.
I don't know when Riyadh starts. Like the second section, right? Because I think the invites are like the second stage, but we want to boot camp like 2 weeks before that.
Okay. So you guys boot camp pretty heavy then, because you guys are already doing pretty well, but you're going to boot camp for a full 2 weeks before Riyadh. Is that a normal amount of time? I feel like most of the time I hear for tournaments it's about a week. What are we talking about here?
Um, I'm not sure. I like a bit longer boot camps for tournaments.
Why?
I think
My
normally it's
camera
longer
is
than
very
2 weeks.
weird now. I don't know what's happened.
It's okay. I'm sure it'll adjust at some point.
I mean, I think we used to do like a week for all the like, I don't know, majors and stuff like that. And then if it's TI or Riyadh last year, I think we did 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like the big
I've had
ones,
some
yeah.
really long ones before. I think like longer than 2 weeks can get pretty bad, but I think if it's shorter, then you don't have any time to do anything but like scrim and play Dota. You don't have any break days and stuff. I think that's not good for a lot of my teams.
On newbie at TI, didn't we do like 3 or something?
Yeah, it was a bit long. I think.
I feel like a lot of the NA teams I've been on, or just NA teams in general, like my understanding is that it was always like 3.
For
If it
TI?
was for TI, yeah. I feel like it was always 3.
Yeah, it's probably on the longer side. I mean, I think also back then it was figuring out what was good. Because like on
Yeah.
paper, like longer boot camp, maybe you get better, but I'm not sure if it's actually true.
Do people
That-
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go.
I was gonna say, do people still do the so back in the day, like there was like the old liquid, like the Curl liquid, and there was like some other teams who would only scrim like one team or like 2 teams. They would just only scrim these teams to like hide their strats from every other team. Do teams still do that, or do people mostly scrim the fold?
I mean, I don't believe in that. I think it's pretty silly to be honest. You're like flipping a coin and hoping like the team you're scrimming against has good strats and is like, but I'm not sure.
Because you could just
Yeah, I
end
mean,
up learning the
we scrim
wrong
everyone.
thing, right? Playing the one team over and over again. Like you think they
It
have
was
some good
very
ideas,
risky.
and then you take some of that, and then it just turns out it's
It's
bad.
just completely random. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we know we've scrimmed people, and then in their next official, you see them pick the exact same heroes, and you know we're just scamming them. Like, we just played awful that day. We're like, oh, we shit stomped them, so now we're
That's
gonna
so
pick it. And
funny.
just horribly lose their official. And you just watch it like, that's unlucky. And like, I think if you don't have like a lot of opponents and like a wider sample size, like that's easier to happen. Like you're not testing it. Like maybe one team's just bad versus a certain style of play or something, and your next opponent's really good versus it, and you just get absolutely slacked. So
Well, okay, actually, Curtis, on that line, then, are Liquid good scrim opponents?
I think, I mean, for sure because they're on time, and then they
Oh,
play the game, and
okay.
like they're pretty good team. And I think that's like good enough, you know?
That's a
Because like no
very
one's going
low bar.
100% in scrims. I mean, you'd think so, right? You would think it's a low bar, but I don't think it is.
Okay, it's just Aiden has told us in the past that they are really bad at scrims, and then they show up to tournaments and do well. And so I was just curious if you had any experience with that.
I think last year you guys must have on Tundra. I feel like last year was way more like this. We just showed up to scrims. I mean, we were on time. That's like the one thing we care about. On time, and we don't pause during
On
draft.
time is good.
Yeah, and no pausing during draft was like our thing last year. But then like quality of the game itself might be quite low.
Yeah, I think actually last year I think Neta hated scrimming you guys because he said
Yeah.
you guys weren't ready to play, and then you just take our stuff, which I guess can happen to a certain degree. But like honestly, generally in scrims, I don't really care if people are like taking your ideas because I don't think copying is that good. like from a scrim. Like you're gonna not really understand what they're trying to do unless it's like, I don't know, you're showing some Unreal Imba hero. But I feel like heroes are sort of hard to hide right now because you have like Tracker and I don't know,
Yeah.
people are just way better adapting and copying compared to before.
It is crazy, actually. You can't really hide heroes anymore. Like it's like you get like one game sometimes on sneaky stuff. Like people didn't know. Like I don't know if everybody knew that like Klink's barrage worked on the skeletons. And like we picked it, and people maybe didn't know. Maybe like the first time they get fucking barrage, they just explode, and they're like, "Holy crap, what was that?" And then after that, okay, now everyone knows. Like the cat's out the bag. You get fucking one use, and then everybody knows.
I feel like when we played the Dream League calls, was like we were playing like Disruptor and IO and stuff, and people didn't really know that they were Imba because they weren't like in the pub meta. But I feel like it's so rare that you find heroes that are really, really good that people don't already know about from pubs. Because it seems like the pub meta is like always kind of like caught up or ahead even sometimes.
No, I agree with that. I think a lot of the time too, it's like it's very hard to beat these hero spammers in terms of like knowledge of a hero. And then like you can literally just watch the hero spammers rank. Like if it goes up, the hero's good. If it goes down, the
Yeah.
hero's bad. And like you just have these people like I don't know, like 5,000 games on Jakiro. You're never gonna know Jakiro because you will never play 5,000 games on Jakiro. So I think generally like taking stuff from pubs is pretty accurate, and then pros are like it's just way easier to like copy and take stuff from pubs than it is to try to like invent something new all the time.
Do you have somebody? Do you actually have like people, like whether on your friends list or just in your contact, or do you even just like check a certain person's Dota buff and just to be like, how is this person playing this hero on this patch, particularly with the really big patch that we experience now, right?
I mean, me a bit less because I'm not European, so I think usually like the European pub spammers, there's more of them. But like I know like
Sure.
Amar has like he has like a list of people, like a long list of people. He just clicks on their profile. He's like, oh, this is what this guy does. He has 5,000 games on Slaughter. Like the last tournament at PGL, I was like telling him like I think the max crush build is good. He just opens this guy up. He has 5,000 games on Slaughter. He's maxing bash every game. So he's like, no, I want to max bash. So that's what he
Holy
did.
crap.
He didn't even try to max crush build. And after every starter scrimmer game, I'll say, isn't max crush Unreal Imba? And he'll be like, yeah, it is. I look at the skill build, it's 114, so it's really good.
I mean, that's smart. I feel like I've heard that story like a number of different times throughout Dota's, lifetime. Is that like somebody will have learned a hero from this guy who's a hero spammer, like way back in the day, right? When you were playing techies for EG, right? Didn't you talk to what was it? You talked to
Talk to Peter's brother.
Peter's brother, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Robot Vice,
it's
and
just-
then some other guy, right?
They just always know something that you're never going to figure out on your own. Like, it would take you
Yeah.
so many games, and like, I don't know. Just easier.
There's those Chen guys that people talk to when they're like learning Chen. I don't know. There's something nerd. There's this one guy who people talk to. I don't know what his name is, but he has like a gazillion Chen games, and he
It's like Sniff. I don't know if it's him.
Yeah, I was about to say Sniff. Is
There's
right.
another one that's not
There's
Sniff.
another one.
There's
I mean,
another
there's
one.
like a rank 100 Russian that has like a billion.
Yeah,
Chen
that might be
games.
the one I'm thinking of. There's some Giga nerd who's like really high on war, who people like talk to this guy about Chen.
I mean, it's a smart way to go about it. Do you guys want to? Okay, you guys want to talk about Dream League and PGL first, or you want to talk about the new patch? Leave that open.
We'll talk about anything.
I've just been watching Boxy's stream since we started this podcast, and he's had Aetherlens in his backpack for literally 10 minutes, and he slaughtered in other items. Like, he slaughtered in items from his backpack that is not his Aetherlens, and it's just been there for 10 minutes.
And he's not playing techies.
I want to talk about that. He is playing techies.
Okay.
Oh, does he have the passive thing? Like, you can use.
Oh, wait. Oh, I'm stupid. I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. Okay, never mind.
Let's not talk about that now.
Let's not
We can talk about it.
I'm not to talk about that.
Alright, why can techies have backpack items? Somebody explain this to me. Why is that the
Okay,
case?
so what do y'all call the facets?
I say talents, and I mean facets. I mean facets. So
You guys
I
have
don't
names
know.
for it?
And I say left or right.
Okay, yeah.
What do you do?
Left or right for sure. I mean, I think I've slowly been converting my team to call them Forsons, because facet is just a weird word, And we said it so many times those first couple days. I just got sick of saying the word, so I started calling them Forsons. And then it's slowly been like creeping into the team. So I'm trying to spread that one.
Why is that forcing?
Because it's a word that sounds similar to facet, and Forsen is a
It's
funny
just a
word.
random word. Okay, sure.
It's identifiable and it's nicer to say than facet.
Yeah, facet is a very harsh word. I don't like it.
This is not what I expected to be talking about on the podcast today. I'll be honest. It's not
Lead us somewhere. I don't actually know what we're doing here. So
I have 3 of the biggest Dota nerds, and you guys are talking linguistics instead.
Wait, hold on. Don't put me in the 3 biggest Dota nerds category.
Yeah.
I feel like there's definitely bigger Dota nerds. Okay, Neta for sure.
Okay.
And then you're fourth, or like, what's up?
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of people. The people that are way better at Dota, or like Dota knowledge. I didn't even know techies had backpack item works. I was molding at Boxy having 8 of those in his backpack for like 10 minutes. I feel like I don't qualify
That is a
for
good
this
meme.
job.
Okay. Do you guys think facets is a good system? Let's just start with that. Do you guys like it? You guys hate it?
I
I
think
mean,
theoretically.
I think it's really fun.
No, go ahead.
It's really fun. I think it's really fun. Whatever, good, bad, I don't know. It's Dota right now is like very fun, I think. Feels like anything could be Unreal broken, and like you get to try out so many things to try to find like which interactions are like the most Simba. And I feel like it makes the game, it like brings back the excitement that I felt like when talents were first introduced or something like this, you know? So in that aspect, I think it's a good rate.
I personally really like it. I think like theoretically you can do like crazy things with heroes while not making them completely unplayable now. It's like another avenue to balance the game because some heroes can have slightly better or worse facets, but they can also just have insane ones while still being viable, and then you can like bounce off that. So you actually get like data on some crazy idea while not ruining the game for this hero. So I really like it in that sense. And also Insania said like, I don't know, it's just fun. There's so many possibilities now.
There's just a lot of different ways to be able to run heroes, right? It gives you a little bit more. I think that was one of the things that's always been special about Dota compared to other MOBAs is the fact that you have this versatility of how to be able to play a hero. And then now this just gives you like a very clear, just like now there are 2 more like decision trees in which you can make a big decision on how to play a hero. Like maybe certain heroes are going to be played on the opposite roles that they usually aren't played, whether it's core to support or support to core. And I think that's pretty fun. But isn't that a little concerning for you guys, like as competitors, if there is the option to have more OP things out there? Isn't that a little scary when you're on top, right? Like you guys are?
I don't think so. I think like more stuff being broken doesn't, like, if you're on the top, then I think generally that means it's because your players are very skilled individually. You're like good at the fundamentals and the mechanics and stuff. And to me, like that stuff, like things being broken will just aid you if you're really good at the game because you're able to like push the brokenness to like a further edge. And I also feel like you're at the top because you're like smart and you figure things out and stuff. And so like I just feel like generally like the better you are, the more you will use things being imbalanced and you'll use the differential. So I feel like it aids people who are better.
So you think the best teams will stay farther ahead of everybody else because you'll just be ahead of the curve, and people will just eventually catch up to you by like copying and learning from what you do. But on a newer patch, you'll be farther ahead of the curve than everybody else, and they'll be struggling to catch up to what you're doing.
Assuming that there isn't, I mean, you can always get like unlucky with patches and that your heroes get nerfed and the things your team happens to be comfortable and good at get like nerfed and they become like less good. Like that happens sometimes, right? And that will affect you negatively. But like barring that, I think like from a conceptual standpoint, what you said should be true.
So Curtis, were you concerned at all that okay? So let me preface this with a quote that I have from Avery. He says that your team, Falcons, is one of the most talented teams he's ever seen. But there's this weird feeling that he has watching your team, and that he feels like they are also one of the teams that is most susceptible to patches that he's ever seen. Probably because Amar and Malrine have this like shared hero pool deal that's really nice flex wise, but if those heroes go out of style, maybe that isn't an advantage you have anymore. Were you afraid about a new patch? Do you agree with that sentiment? What do you think?
I mean, drafting wise, maybe we're susceptible to a patch. I don't really think play wise, and I don't really think hero pool wise. I think Maori and Amar actually have a pretty big hero pool right now. But like as example, like how we play, like I think if the patch became some 4 protect 1, like I think that'd be really bad for us. I
Yeah.
think like Skitter's very good at what he does, but like the team's not that suited to playing 4 protect 1 as much. I'm not sure, like vulnerable to a patch, like I think any team can sort of be like that, and I wouldn't really see us as being more so like that, because I think our fundamentals are pretty good, like, laning, fighting, like your idea of map control and like how you want to play. Like I think none of that really ever changes in Dota with the patch. So I think it's not really true, but I'm not sure.
Fair enough. Is that something that you like have when you came in to coach Falcons, right? Is that like what did you actually work on with the team initially? Like was there anything that you felt like, "Oh, we need to work on this" that you've built up over time?
Well, the team was pretty different than what I expected coming in, to be honest. Like pretty much everyone was above my expectations, because but I think mostly it's been like communication, team fighting, and like post lane.
Mm.
And then a lot of it, like me, Snay, and Skitter have obviously worked together a long time. So a lot of it's like just build up on like previous ideas, and like Dota, you just keep growing, and like once you've like solved a solid foundation or like place one, then it's easier to like focus on, I don't know, some other drafting and different concepts.
So what was your impression of Amar and Maureen? Let's say before you joined the team and then after you joined the team and got to know them.
I mean, honestly, I was sort of worried about working with Amar, because
Yeah.
like he didn't have the best reputation from like OG, and then like I'd heard he's like sort of difficult to work with from like the Enigma sports psychologist or whatever, like something like this. But like when I joined the team, like I don't know what's happening. He's like the most mentally stable Dota player I've ever talked to. Like he doesn't tell. He's like a super good teammate. Like he'll call people out if they're being like a bad teammate or toxic, but in a really good way. It's like, and it's like he's always oriented towards getting better, winning, learning. Like I don't know what's happening. Like he was like 18 or something, and I was super confused. Like why he had this reputation. I don't understand it at all. Like literally, I've been in Dota for like 12 years. I think he's like the best mentally player I've ever worked with. So, and Maori and I had worked with on like he stood in for us on Tundra, so I sort of knew what I was expecting. But I don't know. He's just some Russian. He sings a lot of Taylor Swift songs. It's like it's a problem, honestly, because like our practice room, like you have Amar, he like blasts death metal or whatever through his speakers. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
I have.
Like he plays pubs with his headset off, and he just blasts music into the room. And sometimes he leaves the room, and the music is still going. I don't like it. And then you have him in one side, and you have Maureen singing like "I'm drunk in the back of my car," like some Taylor Swift song. That's my room, and I don't like it. So, but it's it is what it is, you know.
So we had Skeeter on, and he talked about the difference between the Tundra philosophy and the Falcons philosophy when it came to the all chat. Right? He said that Tundra definitely had this, like, not really engaging anybody and just taking yourself out of that limelight. And then he said, come on to Falcons, and he said that he was learning from Amar and Maureen, who are like putting themselves out there in all chat all the time. And he said that like part of that team like atmosphere, like obviously that would be part of you as the coach. So when I asked him like what did Curtis think of like Amar and Maureen, he said, "Oh, I think he probably thinks they're a bunch of clowns," which is maybe what you're talking about here with the music and stuff. But like, what about the all chat? When you say like Amar is such a good teammate and stuff, and then Tundra didn't have this all chat, what do you think about the all chat that Maureen and Amar does?
At first, I think Skitter's like the first adult who's like proud to be influenced by teenagers, which I think is I don't know. I think like after Birmingham, we actually had a talk like this all chat has to be toned down, because like me and Crit, like we don't like it. And like
Yeah.
okay, if the kids do it a bit, like sure maybe, but like when the grown ups, the olds do it, like it's not good. It was like too cringe, and also like for me, like I have a hard line. Like if you all chat after you're winning a series, like it's super cringe. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like it actually really bothers me. But like all chatting at the start of the game or like in the game when you're like there's like stakes and like you're putting your pride on the line, like I'm down for that, honestly.
Mhm.
Just there's a time and a place, and like if you're winning a series 3-0, like don't watch. I don't know. It's not good.
So did you when you had that talk? Was that with everybody or was that with Skeeter?
I mean, all of us were in the car. In
Oh,
Birmingham.
okay.
So it's not just Skitter, like.
Yeah.
But like it was like trending the way that it would go like more and more. But like I'm down. Like if Skitter wants to say something at the start of the game and like put some like pressure on himself and everyone else, like if he thinks it's good for him, like that's his sort of, for me, it's like his individual responsibility. But like I think like I don't know. There's just like ones that were not good.
Yeah, I mean, taunting people when you're stopping them feels a little less like fun banter memes.
Yeah, I mean the one thing is like it was like Betboom in Toronto Tokyo who's done it in the past. So for me
Yeah,
it's like a little bit less, but it's still like I know like Malrine said something to like XM, or I think it's XM, like after we beat them in Dacha or something, and like we had him like go apologize to him because like it was not okay. You can't say it after you win like this. It's not like some psychological advantage. You're just being a dick. It's like not good.
You know what's funny is that when we had Skater on the podcast, we tried to explain the concept of chatting when you're winning isn't as cool as chatting when you're losing. And I don't think Skeeter really walked away from that podcast really understanding that concept. But I imagine that your talk helped a little bit more.
I mean, our talk was basically just like no more of this. It wasn't really like a conversation, So like,
Okay, fair
I
enough.
think he understood that part.
Are you like pretty harsh, as a disciplinarian when a coach, like you feel like somebody crosses the line? Can you be pretty hard ass about it?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's pretty hard for me to do that, like personality wise, but like, there's nothing that really goes that far, like on
Sure.
my teams generally. I think, or at
I,
least
I
like
was
a
gonna
few
say I was
years.
thinking
So
back and I couldn't think of an instance where like you like laid down the law with somebody on the old NA teams.
yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe with like the king, like snaking, he'll like go too far with like some random talk, and I'll get like triggered. But like, it's not like I'm actually laying down the law. He's just doing his thing as snaking, Like
You're getting
I don't
wooed.
know. Yeah, we're getting wooed, and I like it. I like the wooing. It's good. Once you learn to accept it and grow with it, it's really good for the team.
It's
But when
crazy
it
how
first
much you've
happens to you,
changed. Like I
no,
remember the
dude, the
initial
first
wooing.
year, the first like 8 years, it's not good. But like once you realize, like I don't know, it's just snaking such a pure soul, Like all this stuff is coming from such a good place, but it's just wooing the fuck out of you. So like, I don't know.
Okay, so I've heard about getting wooed before a couple times now. Can you explain that to the audience?
Quinn can say a bit, but I think it's a bit hard to explain. I'll tell a story though. Like when we were
Okay.
forward together, Quinn was sick out of his mind, deathly ill, and the food was paid for by the org. Everything was free for us, and Quinn ate half of his like mala chicken, and snaking wanted more food. So he took Quinn, who was literally dying. He took his food, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna eat this." And literally everyone's telling him, "Please do not eat this." And he said, "No, it's good. It makes you stronger when you eat the sick germs." So he ate the sick germs. He got so sick he couldn't talk. We lost the only. I've never lost a qualifier as a coach, except for that one. That's the only thing I've not qualified for. Is a Disneyland major that year. We instantly lost because he was like our most vocal player. He couldn't talk, and he was like, "No, guys, it was good." That is getting wooed. It's like, despite all evidence to the contrary, he will like push forward with something, and you don't know why he's doing it. But if you take it like in a good way, it's sort of good. I don't know. It's good for the team morale, sort of sometimes.
Yeah, he's sort of like this. It's like he warps between like different realms. Like he's not totally from Earth, and sometimes he comes in and just does something that doesn't make any sense, and so you just sort of have to go with it because you can't explain it, you can't reason it out, or like there's no like rationale there. It's just sort of an insane decision, but it's not overly harmful. So you just sort of like This is just the way it is. He's just snaking. He's wooing us, and you
And
accept it.
and you know it's like coming from a good place. Like there's no ounce of malice or like spite or anything. So like it's not bad, you know? Like it's really harmless at the end of the day. So I don't know.
So, Curtis, you've been a coach for a long time. In fact, you were a coach all the way. You were one of the first coaches back when people started hiring coaches for TI. You coached Secret at TI6, right?
Yeah.
that one didn't that one didn't go quite so well though.
No, that was a rough one.
Um,
Good times. That's all.
okay. I thought maybe you had something more there, but then you went back to playing, and then you went back to coaching again, and then you went back to playing for a little bit. So you've coached for a very long time at this point in time. How does Falcons compare to every other team that you've coached?
Like the players or
Yeah, just players or team atmosphere or anything like that.
and Falcons is really easy to work with right now, but that's also because we're doing well.
Mm.
So I don't really know because like everything's sort of easy when you're winning. But like I coached a long time, but I only had 2 teams that did well. Like I had Tundra and I had Falcons, and then like the times where Tundra was doing well, it's super easy, and then like we had some like rough times on the team. So I think Falcons, I don't know, probably be similar. Like problem solving is hard in Dota teams. So, but I don't know. It's really easy on Falcons right now. So.
Yeah.
I guess I have something that I used to think about a lot when I would captain teams, where like, because when you're good, like you said, it's like so easy and everything flows so naturally that I remember I would always try to like remember why things are good and why things are working the way they are, and like so that when you later like when shit hits the fan, you just like kind of have like you have these ideas of like this is the things that made us good, like this is why our communication was going so smoothly, or this is why like we could agree on this matchup or that whatever, like stuff like that. Do you feel like it's like that too as a coach?
Yeah, no, I really like what you said because I remember I was actually talking to Tofu at the airport, and when he was like switching into drafting, I don't know if, and he was saying like there's a lot of things that he said like when we're doing so well, we had focused on these things and we sort of forgotten that. I think it's really easy for that to happen on a Dota team that you just lose track of your fundamentals and what's good. And I think that's really valuable just to be able to identify those things and make sure that they're actually being focused on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something y'all talked about, like the that eventually you'll start losing, or like that, like expectations in terms of like do like you've won a lot this year, right? Like a pretty insane year. Do people like go into tournaments expecting to win? Do they expect things to, like how is the vibe like in that way? Do you feel like it's changed from like current tournaments to like the beginning of the year? Like what is sort of the like outlook, or because like I thought about it last year, and like we had we talked about it casually at times that like we will not win forever. At some point, time will catch up to us and we'll lose. No matter how Titanic Spirit is at some point, or if you can Wings or LGD or whatever, eventually people start losing, right? It happens.
It's not something we specifically talked about. I think we had like our team talk coming into the team where he said like no matter how we do, like we should have the mentality that we're still garbage, we need to improve. Like that was like our idea coming in, no matter what. But I think honestly it's probably like we probably need to have that talk. I think the last 2 tournaments in terms of like our structure and how we wanted to like approach practice and the game and stuff were not the best. It's obviously like not the easiest for us because we had like Maori in online and we had a standard in 9 and like it sort of breaks down your fundamentals. But there's definitely been a trend toward like we're not approaching the game in what we agreed on was like the correct way in terms of like team dynamic fundamentals more than like gameplay and stuff. So probably something we need to do honestly.
Was that a discussion that came up after PGL Wallachia? Because you guys have won so many tournaments, but that was one that stood out, right? I think you guys lost another tournament, but you guys had a stand-in at that time.
So we lost Elite League to Extreme in the finals.
Yep.
And then Wallachia we had 9 as a stand-in.
Oh, that's right. That's what it was.
I don't know. I'm a bit sick of like Birmingham, Wallachia, and this last Dream League. Like every single time we say like I taste some stuff out like to remove pressure. Like guys, we haven't gotten good time to practice. Like there's been like visa scenarios stuff like this, and then like we're trying to like keep ourselves humble and stuff. But I don't know. Like I really just want a tournament because like our results have been good, but I feel like our form has dropped a lot before Birmingham. Like I think we're in really good form for like the Dream League before this one. And that's when I think we're playing our best Dota. And I feel like even though our result was good, like I don't think we played as well as we are capable of. So it's like sort of a weird dynamic there, I guess, because like you want to be happy, but like I know like Crit, like you watch him after a game, he has like 1,000-year stare. You just won the tournament, and he's like thinking about the game, and he understands. He's a veteran, like he understands. Like we're not playing as we should, but like me and him, we've had constant like we don't understand why we're winning some of these tournaments. So it's really weird, honestly. I've never had it like this.
How do you guys feel about that, Gwyn and Aiden, as like competitors? Knowing that, like, do you actually feel that like Falcons have dropped form since then?
I mean, I don't think we've really been good enough to play them that much recently, but I do feel like they're kind of frauds. Like more so now than I did in the start.
No, I agree. Like
No,
there's
like
something wrong right now.
I'm not saying like obviously like they're 10 times better than we are right now, but I know what AY means, and I know like for example last year I've talked about this already, but like I could feel when we were better. We got second all the time, but we were like there was a very big variance in form between like one or some events. So like I totally get what he means. I mean you're still winning, so like boohoo, you suck. Or not really, But for sure, I think at least from my experience playing you guys, the first time in Dubai, I think was like the toughest for us, and I think after that, I think it's been less clean games, I guess.
I will say, to Aiden's credit, he actually did call it out. Like, I feel like 4 or 5 episodes at this point in time. I think around the time that you were talking about, Curtis, where you guys' form started dropping, Aiden did say, he was like, I don't think Falcons is going to be as dominant. Like he did. I think he did identify that.
And that's how it works in Dota. Like the team at the top, they're all just frauds waiting to be exposed. Though that's how it goes. So like,
okay,
but,
hold
like,
on. Do you feel that way about every team? Because I don't. I feel like when Extreme Gaming win or when Spirit wins, I'm like, they're so fucking good. I respect them. And then when
I
you
hate how
guys win,
both those
I'm
teams
like,
play.
I mean, I do too, if I'm being real. But I still, like, I'm okay with it. It's like when China would win, events in the past. I'm just okay with it. But when you guys win, or when Gaming wins nowadays, I just like, ugh. They're so
But
bad.
that's because we're so
Why
same
did you let
region
'em
teams,
win?
Yes.
basically, right?
I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Like if you get knocked out of the tournament, then you cheer for China, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So like if Extreme wins, everyone like every European team is happy after playing on. I think that's how.
I think like you mentioned, I also think it's because like you mentioned this thing about like if the patch turned to 4 Protect 1, it wouldn't be good for you. I think it's funny that you mentioned Extreme and Spirit. You like think they're cool when they win because I think our 3 teams are more similar than those teams. I think of like the there's who is the 6th team that's invited to TI that I'm forgetting? Oh, Beppu. Okay, we're not gonna talk about them. Like so like there's like of those 5 teams, there's Spirit and Extreme who play in a very similar way, and then there's us 3 that there's differences or whatever, but like I think our teams work in a more similar way. You can look at like what the carry role does or whatever, crap like this. And it's funny that like you look at us when we win, like y'all are frauds, and you look at the teams that are different from you when they win, and you're like, wow, they're goated, they're pogging. I just think that's funny because I
mean, that is
sometimes I have a similar feeling like. Whenever, I mean, I don't think Falcons are frauds. I think they're good. I mean, they can clap their cheeks in those finals. We played like absolute dog water. I grief game 2 so hard, but like when I look at Spirit sometimes, not right now, when they won that final, I was like, kind of cringe. But like when I watch, like Spirit at when they beat us at TI, I was like, they're really good. So it's just funny.
Yeah, I mean, also just I want to say like, obviously, like I'll only call teams frauds that I actually think are good. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like being called a fraud is an honor. It's like you've managed to do something successfully. So people think you're like so good, but you're like, nah, they're not as good as people think they are. So it's like reaching fraud tier is like a good thing.
Wait, so are you insulting Spirit then? Like, oh no, those guys aren't frauds, but frauds is supposed to be a compliment?
They're like above frauds. They're like,
oh, okay.
I don't know how to say this, but like, okay, I'm not gonna go out there and be like, oh yeah, OG are frauds. Like it's just it's just mean. OG are not frauds. But I feel like Falcons are frauds, like people think they're good, but they're not really. And like just like last year, just wait for the big events, and we will see who is truly good. It won't be us, but it sure as hell won't be Falcons.
Okay, well, it can't be Spirit again. So one of you fucking clowns or us needs to step up.
No,
I
this
refuse
is
for it to be
China's year,
Spirit
guys.
again.
It's China's year.
I'm down for China's year actually.
That's fine. If Extreme wins, that's fine. That's the slipping form thing is really funny because like I look back at our year last year and like at Bali, like that one was. I mean, we barely scraped by the Dream League wins. Those were like I couldn't believe we won those. I mean, the thing is, y'all's finals have been way more dominant than ours were last year. Like Berlin was dominant, and Lima y'all have a stand. It's like kind of hee XD. But the other ones were close. Like the y'all's finals this year have been like I don't know. It's like is it all 3-0s except for the one you lost?
Yeah, the one we lost versus Extreme was 1-3, but then we played I think Betboon twice, Liquid 1-2 you guys.
Yeah, that's pretty rare. Like that it's 3-0s because our year last year was not like that. We had 3-3-1s or no 1-3-0, but that was the stand-in one, and then 2-3-2s where we should have lost, and then the 2-3-1s.
I mean, I'd say the games you guys beat us in were really, really dominant. You know what I mean? Like in Bali, like game 3 and 4, they were not competitive.
Game 3 and 4 were stomps. Game 1,
Yeah.
it should have been 2-2 though because we should have lost one of the first games we won.
Yeah, I think Berlin. I mean, all I remember from Berlin was like I think we kind of got you guys in one game, and then like it wasn't really competitive in the other 2 or 3. That's how I remember it, but I don't know if it's true. But I think I mean, I feel like you guys and Falcons, like to me at least, gives like pretty similar vibe. Like your last year and Falcons this year feels pretty similar.
Same fraud.
It's like, I mean, I didn't think gladiators were frauds last year. I've learned this recently from Neta. But I feel like it's like you guys are adding something. Like both your teams are adding something new to how the map is played, compared to like previous teams. And I think that's why, like, at least from my perspective, it's like a big problem for people to solve. And I feel like at least like during our year on Liquid, I think we had a pretty similar thing, where people just like the vast majority of teams just had no idea like how to play the map against you, and it ended up like a lot of things that matter when you play other teams, like I don't know, laning or matchups and stuff like this, they end up mattering less because you can just abuse people in other ways. And I think that's like the for me at least why it's like it feels so similar like with gladiators and with you guys, but it's like obviously different things that you guys are bringing to the table, but it's just a similar vibe to me.
Already says as a coach, when it comes to these finals, do you prefer the dominant? Because like obviously these tournaments are a stepping stone to the bigger tournaments in the end of the year, right? TI and Riyadh, they're coming up. So do you like that your team is so dominant, especially in these finals, or do you wish that they would get pushed more, so that way you guys could learn more, be more motivated, or whatever it is?
No, I like winning. Winning is good. I think there is one thing about the Dota scene. It's like I think Riyadh and TI will be much smaller this year compared to other years.
Mhm.
I'd say like maybe what you said would be more relevant if like TI is 40 million and these tournaments are like 250,000, like it used to be.
Yeah.
But winning is good. I like it.
Okay. So do you like the current Dota ecosystem then? Do you like the fact
I like
that
it way
there's...
more than the Giant TI.
Okay.
Like way more personally, because I think not to discredit any previous TI winners, but I feel like for example, like OG, like they won TI 8 and 9. Like 9, they're super dominant. Like their performance at the tournament is amazing.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the year, like they didn't even play Dota. Like I think it's like ridiculous that they can like effectively play 2 tournaments and retire. I don't like that. Like I think it's sort of stupid, to be honest.
Yeah. And I am fully there with you, but I have heard the counter argument that like without having these like very large prize pools, making TI what it is, the only tournament that matters, it creates this pressure cooker that makes TI the most entertaining tournament to be able to watch. That the fact that pressure amps up on everybody and it brings out certain storylines that wouldn't exist otherwise. Like, do you see any validity to that, or do you think it's just...
I don't know what's wrong with pro players. Like $5 million isn't enough for you. Like what is this? Like
I also don't
gonna
think
try
last
Riyadh.
TI
Like
felt
what?
different.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like last TI was the smallest in a long time, and I don't think it felt different. Like
Yeah.
I felt like that was also the furthest I've ever been, but like the energy felt the same. Like I feel like the pressure, the crowd, the teams, like I don't know, maybe there's some people who are like ridiculously fucking greedy or like money driven or something that like they didn't feel any pressure because the fucking dollar that there wasn't an extra zero. But like I feel like if your brain is like functioning like a normal wavelength, then like I don't know, the fact that the year is like leading up to something, right? There's this momentum, there's like the tournament at the end of the tunnel, like you're preparing for this. Like to me, that is like where the pressure comes from, that you're like putting on yourself. It's not like the dollar amount or whatever.
So do you think TI is still more important to you than than Riyadh?
Oh, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it was more important last year when Riyadh was 15 mil and TI was whatever, $15. Um, like I want I want the title and like
Yeah.
like that's what I care about. I don't really care about the money that much from either tournament.
I mean, I think that one's arguable for people. The Riyadh versus TI last year,
Yeah, that one's arguable for sure.
but I really agree with Quinn. Like I don't know, like I think like the prestige and the title and all these things, like they matter a lot. Like we will not try less for Riyadh than we would have for last year. I don't think so. And I think like most pro teams are going to be the same. Honestly, like it's still a lot of money. I don't know what people are complaining about. Honestly, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I
Aiden?
guess I don't necessarily think it's like it's not the problem that there's not a lot of money. It still obviously is a lot of money, but I think at least from like building the hype for an event as like, because I don't know if you guys have these conversations, but like I feel like when you want to talk to someone about Dota, at least for me, the way I would always explain it would be through TI. It'd be like, oh yeah, it's this $40 million tournament, and every year it gets bigger and bigger, and like who knows where it's gonna get to, and people like change their lives through like this one event, and it's like this one thing that uh changes people's lives. And I'm not saying it has to be that way or that's the best thing for the scene, but I do think that that kind of hype around Dota, at least in my mind, isn't there in the same way as it was before. I feel like from TI 11 and then like last year, in my mind, it is different than the years before.
I mean, the problem I have with that is that it assumes that TI's prize pool is high because of professional play, and I don't really agree that was the case at all. I think the TI prize pool is high because Valve put work into cosmetics and stuff. So I think it's like sort of fake to say like, oh, the pro player scene is this big and it's growing every year. It's just like they're just making more cosmetics. So it's like sort of like,
No, for sure. For sure.
for
I mean, they
me
proved
at
it
least,
last year.
Yeah.
I mean, they proved it last year, if anything. Like, I don't think there's any doubters when it comes to that. And that's not what I'm saying. But I think the hype surrounding TI for like, because all of us that are like into Dota, obviously like the title and stuff matters a lot, and you've been chasing it for such a long time. But I think for people that are like less into it and the people that only watch TI, I do think there is a difference when it was like always growing. It's like there was like a movement, like this is getting bigger every single year. And I think in that regard, in my opinion at least, I think there is a difference. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but I do think there is like a slight difference. Like playing TI last year, at least I felt like I thought it was going to be more different than it was, but I still think there was some difference, but it still felt like TI. Like I don't disagree with that. But I don't know if it's maybe just that I've played more TIs or what it is, but it did feel slightly different to me.
I mean, for me, the problem with last year's TI is that they made you basically do a year-long tournament, all leading up to this one tournament with like DPC and everything, and then the prize pool wasn't like your expectations. Like that's what happened for us. It's like the expectations were so different than what happened. And I think that
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
fair.
killed it for me. But like I think if like TI was like guaranteed to be a certain amount of prize pool, like I think it would still be for me the hypest tournament.
Yeah.
I think one thing that really makes TI is it's the big event at the end of the year, and if you are a Dota fan, it is the one event that you want to go to. And there was some recent news that they put out about TI. They put out the invites and such, but the way they put the wording, it seems like that this year they're still keeping the separated. So we're going to do groups into playoffs, and then this break into the finals weekend. But it looks like this year, the playoffs bit, that it's not the finals weekend. The playoffs bit is good. They said it's a studio broadcast. implying that there is no audience this time around, which I think is like a pretty big hit.
Wait, hold on. So there's no audience for playoffs.
That is what they specifically said, that groups goes into playoffs and it's a studio broadcast. So the implication of a studio broadcast is that there's no fans. So they're not going to do the smaller venue like they did at Singapore, like they did in Seattle, right, where they built up the castle deal and everything. They apparently were not doing that this year, which I think is a pretty big loss because there's a lot of teams who are just not going to be playing in front of an audience, which for me is one of the biggest things about TI, right? Is the fact you are playing in a stadium full of fans. Now, we've changed that since, like the old TIs where we were in the key arena the entire time. But even the playoffs bit that they had, at least there was fans and you felt like part of that atmosphere and pressure for me. And I feel like I thought it was a big loss when I read that. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, I don't know about it either. But I think, at least to me, one of the big differences between TI and Riyadh, since we brought this up anyway, was that like TI last year had an insane crowd. Like the crowd was so hype, and like Riyadh didn't really have that. And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, at least for me, playing in front of a crowd is like the best experience ever. And like having less crowds is very sad, because I know I actually asked Nisha this at some event. I think PGL maybe. I was like, would you rather be like, like all the money that goes into like getting an arena and stuff, what if they just put it into like getting you a nicer hotel or like a nicer flight and all this stuff? And like, would you prefer to have a crowd and like stay at a shittier hotel or whatever, or the opposite?
Yeah.
How do you guys like feel about it?
I want the crowd for sure. I mean, it depends though, like how shitty is the hotel? Because like you're saying like 6
I'm gonna
people to
set you
one
up-
room like before.
No. I'll put up a tent for you outside the arena, but group stage gets played in the arena in front of a crowd.
I do not like the tent.
You do not like the tent?
It might have been a little
like
extreme.
if the conditions are good enough where you feel like you're going to be able to perform, like all the teams will actually be able to perform because I mean, have you been to any of like the weird Chinese like monster hotel lands or anything like that where like
I did a WSG once.
yeah, like those are not okay, but like I don't really think I need a nice hotel or anything. It doesn't really add that much personally.
Yeah. Like how ESL does like the players' lounges and stuff like this?
Yeah, do players even go to those? I feel like it's for
mean-
like the team owners and stuff. They just chill in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm just saying. I feel like most pro players would be down to sacrifice a bit of their luxury or whatever you want to call it, especially with like, I don't know. I just feel like crowds are hype, and we should not be moving away from crowds.
No, I completely agree. I'm
Dota.
also a bit confused because I remember like back at like TI 3 and 4 is like really important to Evolve that like every team gets to play on the stage once. I know they've like slowly moved away from that, but like this is pretty extreme, I'd say, for TI. Just you have like some studios, and it's like 3 days. Like how many teams are going to be able to play in 3 days? Like top 6, I guess.
Top 6. Yeah.
That's pretty sad. It's also like less teams at TI, which
it's not top 8.
Usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday used to be top 6. I think ESL and stuff have recently been doing top 8. I think ESL did top 8. Yeah.
It sort of sounds like top 8 to be honest.
TI was top 8. Or no,
was it top 8?
TI might have been because we played Nouns in the big arena, and that was upper bracket round, or sorry, that was lower bracket round 3. So we were because Nouns was upper bracket.
That was for top 8.
They lost
Nouns
first
got
match.
Top 8.
Yeah, that was for top 8.
So top 8 is from Friday. Yeah, okay.
And top 8 is better for sure than top 6, of course, but it is sort of sad. Like it's a smaller tournament, 16 teams, and like half of them just won't see a crowd. And I don't know, are they gonna like just get booted out again? Because this sort of sad. Because like to me, TI like one of the prize pool and everything is like more of a celebration of Dota and stuff. Like you had all teams there, you had, but it. I don't know if like just a shift in how it works, like just thought around the tournament, but it is a bit sad.
Yeah, because
doesn't it just come down to cost, more or less?
Yeah,
isn't that what it's ultimately all about?
And for sure, it's about money in the end. I think. I mean, like last TI, I think it cost like $30 million. So like, if you look at Valve as like a 300-person company, like they could have TI or they could cut everyone 100,000 check. So it's like a bit weird in that sense, you know.
There does seem to be this trend, and that this is like maybe TI is just following the trend of everybody else, but like all these other tournaments are doing studio broadcasts, right? We've gone through so many tournaments now. We've done these Dream Leagues, ESB, PGL. None of them have audience. The only ones that have actually had a crowd so far is ESL One, and we're going to have a crowd for TI in the top 8, it seems like, and we're going to kind of have a crowd for Riyadh, but
Not really. If
it's
it's the
not
same
really.
place, it's not really a crowd.
Yeah, it's
like 20
it's open to the public, but it's not a crowd,
Yeah. Everything apart from the finals was like 20 people roughly.
Yeah.
So
So
I think like Birmingham was like, for me, for my players at least, is like by far the hypest event. I think a lot of that's to do with the crowd.
and yet all these tournaments are $1 million tournaments, right? Like the prize pool is $1 million, but we're not even doing crowds. I don't know. It's just something that from a talent perspective, obviously that is one of the things that like I love the most. Is like that part of the reason I love my career is that I get to meet Dota fans in real life, and they're way different than the Dota fans that I meet online. So it's like a great
Wait.
experience being able to talk to people in person, and they're like normal, like they're normal people. They go to university, they have jobs. It's nice. And unfortunately, all of these tournaments that we're getting hired for don't have that aspect anymore. So it's nice to hear that you guys also feel similar.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think like it is still though like some egotistical aspect of yourself looks at like Dubai and like that event and how it was to be there, and you're like, it's I'm kind of okay with having like some event like this in exchange for the crowd as well, because I think I don't like the trend, but I do think like sometimes it is also nice to have like the studio events. So there's like I think there's just a give and take with it.
I mean, it's less
'Cause, like, I
stressful
think
for sure, right?
Actually, if I'm honest, I think playing in front of a crowd is, for me now at my like boomerhood, it's like easier to be way more focused on the game and be like way more zoned in. So I actually feel like the pressure that comes from a crowd at least it's like a positive pressure for me. I very rarely, if ever, have felt like in recent years, that it's like a negative. But yeah, I mean, like I just this year, like comparing like the experience of being like, if you look at like everything other than that, because this is what sparked the question initially, it was like everything else other than like the arena days. I think like every other event outside of ESL, it's been like night and day with how nice the hotels have been and stuff. And it seems like that's like where the trade-off has been made. I'm sure like it's still cheaper to do the nicer hotels and no crowd than crowd events, but it has also been nice. I don't want to complain about it too much. Like having larger practice rooms and stuff like this has been very nice.
It is good.
Yeah.
I mean, the no crowd for TI top 16 is definitely. I can't even think about that too much. That just makes me sad. That one is
Yeah.
pretty. That one's pretty depressing.
All right. Well, I'm not going to ask. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Because I didn't want to delve too much into the patch, because obviously you guys are competitors. So I imagine there is not too much that you want to share about the patch. But is there anything else you want to?
I can share some stuff.
Yeah.
You can go first.
I think Razor, Huskar, Dragon Knight are good heroes. What do you think, AOI?
How about Timbersaw?
Oh yeah, there's Timbersaw also. I think Timbersaw
Yeah.
also a good hero.
What else?
And
do
I
we
think
play?
there's a chance
Hoodwink?
Falcons might play these heroes.
I feel like I've seen a lot of these heroes in the last 6 months, man.
I don't think you'll see much Huskar, but the other ones.
Yeah, Huskar has not been looking good to say.
What you mean? The support Huskar isn't OP? Come on, guys.
Well, I want to try that actually.
You want to
I
try
feel
that?
like it has potential.
Wait.
Yeah.
You guys have clearly not seen Huskar against Anti-Mage. It's the biggest counter, guys. Anti-Mage can't play Dota against Huskar.
You're
It's
countering the second
unplayable.
worst hero with the worst hero. Like, I don't know.
Hello? Anti-Mage is like tearing it up in pubs right now.
Dude,
in
I
2K
lost like 5 straight pubs, and then Tundra9 was on my team, and he had to play carry, and I said, please don't pick Anti-Mage. And he picked Anti-Mage, and that's when I know we could not win that tournament. We lost that game instantly. I went to Poland, he died like 4 times to a Night Stalker. It was not good.
I
But
don't know.
have
Every time I've had Anti-Mage on my team and it's not against Huskar, it's been so strong. Like,
really?
unbelievably broken. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played that much with Antimage this patch, so maybe it's different.
But I'm saying,
I
dude,
hate
there was
that
a
hero so
Huskar in the
much.
team,
Bro,
and
when I have that
Anti-Mage hit
hero on my
him.
team, I want to AFK. I
Yes.
hate that hero. Holy crap!
I might change my name to pick Antimage equal IAFK. I've
Yeah,
never
I think
had this urge
that's,
for
that's the most
Antimage
like,
is on my ban
rational,
list.
reasonable name.
Yeah, Antimage is the 4 bans. I've changed them to heroes, not that the enemy's gonna pick, but heroes I don't want on my team.
Yeah,
Mine are
that's
actually
my
the
pudge
same.
ban. That's my pudge ban.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's way better because it's too much randomness on enemy team, but I know what I hate on my team.
I had Anti-Mage and PL before the patch, dude. I just every time I pick like some, some dude that likes to kill on the lane, my carry like rank 1.5k, sure as I was gonna pick AM or PL. You already know.
They
That's
just hold
actually
the
the
game
worst.
hostage. They're just like, yeah, guys, I'm gonna buy a farming item into another farming item into another farming item. So I'll see you in like 30 minutes. If you can win 4v5 for a while, then I'll come in and hit their base whenever they can't fight us anymore.
I can't remember the last time I felt like Antimage had actual impact. Like the game is won, Antimage secures it. The game is lost. I guess he's having impact because the game ends faster. But like, I don't know.
I feel like you guys are haters. AM is not that bad.
I
It is
have hatred.
All I'm saying is,
miserable.
Your hatred.
last time Quinn, we had this conversation. It did not go so well.
Which
Maybe
conversation
AM's
was
gonna get
this?
mega buffed now for tomorrow.
Oh no, that's not good.
In
AM
the
is actually a bit
patch.
OP right now. So
Hey, don't buff.
That's all
No,
I'm
no
saying.
buffs. No buffs.
do not buff AM. Okay, wait, I have a question for you guys though. Because I see
Yeah,
like
okay.
in the cast and on Reddit, there's a lot of complaints about going high ground. But from my team's perspective, we didn't think high ground was an issue at all.
I think it's
Like
fine.
I thought it was
Right
actually
now
good
or before?
before and now. Like I thought that the problem
Really?
with high ground was that teams were not taking any risk when they're behind and they're sitting in their base, and they had no chance of winning doing this, and it would extend the games. But I felt like the problem was with the teams sitting in their base, and like maybe that's a high ground problem, but more it's like an incentivizing actually leaving your base when you're behind problem.
I mean, I think there was an issue with like if you're doing really well or doing really shit, then it's not a problem. But I think with like the lead that you have to grow until you can go high ground, I think is problematic for like the vast majority of teams, if that makes sense. If you don't look at like only like the top, if you look at like the tier 1.5 to tier 2, I do think it was a problem. That like it kind of just made the games lock. And then like I don't know. I mean, we all obviously like our team also has had issues going high ground for like since the dawn of time, but like I do think the way it is now is better than the way it was before.
You
Because
guys
it
think
makes it
the
easier.
glyph changed it that much?
I think it does a bit, yeah. At least in my pubs, it feels like you can brute force a bit more without getting poked as hard, which
I mean,
makes
surely
it
the
like
banner
more
helps a lot too, right?
accessible.
I haven't used that thing.
I
I
have
don't
not
know.
felt its
That one
impact.
is like I can't tell yet, but I do think like you can high ground faster. You get poked less, which is good.
I mean,
You
I
can
think
commit more.
at a pub level, high ground was an issue. I just don't think so for competitive before. But I will say, in a few of my pubs, we've gone like tier 3, they glyph, and we've gone throne, and that's sort of cool. Because like it's so much pressure, like potentially, right? And that's happened a lot. I don't know why. It's happened like I haven't played that many games. It's happened
I've
like
seen it
3
happen too.
games. Yeah, it's really cool. Actually, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the glyph change, but I also think that like if you exclude Aurora and Bet Boom from your like calculations, if you look at like last patch games, like I don't think it was that bad. I also think that like I'm sure the glyph change has some impact, but I also imagine there is a psychological impact on top of that that potentially has like a comparable amount of impact of like people now are like, oh, it's possible to go high ground, and they had in their heads that it wasn't possible to go high ground before. Like I think there was something like that going on. People had in their heads you couldn't go high ground, even though sometimes you could. Like I feel like our team, I mean, we were dog water for a long time last patch, most of the patch. But like we had games sometimes where we're like, I don't know, we just can end the game, and it like didn't feel that hard if we were like actually playing well. That just didn't happen very often.
So Curtis, just to go back, so you think it's basically that the teams staying inside their base that they were bad?
I mean, I think if you're sitting in your base and the enemy has map control, like that's a just full losing position. Like I don't think sitting in your base is a real strategy. Like hoping to mess up. So I think like for me, like that was already game over. Like if you're just gonna sit there. But I also think like for me, it's like theoretically, it's good that you cannot dive tier 4s against 5 people sitting in their base with buybacks. Because if it was easy to do that, then the team that was behind would never get a chance to come back. Like they would never be able to leave their base and make moves because like they need to like fortify their strongest position. Like right now on high ground, if you have like 3 people defending, it's not that easy for them to dive you. So you can actually get on the map and like have a chance of coming back. If high ground's easy, there's no comeback potential at all. Like in competitive at least, like pubs, anything can happen. I'm down. But I just think like, because like you can look at like Birmingham, like our game 2 versus Bet Boom or whatever. Like if we sat in our base and just said can't go high ground, like we're not going to win that game. Like versus the GPK Kodo, I don't know if you guys remember that game. We had some swim.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's like I really liked how high ground worked before. Actually, I mean, obviously we're winning, so maybe it's like bias. But like I don't like when I listen to some of the casts or read on Reddit. Like I don't understand why it's so like this. Like it might just be like a pub thing, but like I was really happy with it. Like on a theoretical level.
So I definitely did not enjoy the high ground. I'll say that right now. Like I was watching so many games, casting so many games, and I felt like at some point in time, one team got a 10, 20K net worth lead, and that net worth lead needed to turn into a 50K net worth lead in order for that team to go high ground. Now, maybe that's just the natural progression of like teams and players getting better and more disciplined, and therefore not taking the risk of like, this is a 90-10 game, let's make it a 95-5 game, you know, like just secure your advantage more and more. Maybe that's just the natural progression of like teams getting better. But I did not feel like outside of maybe Gaming Glass.
He's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone.
I
R.I.P.
wonder if Craig is still here. Hello, Craig. And potentially viewers. Cap's not here anymore. Holy.
Right now we can have the
But-
real conversation.
The vibe has never been better.
Dude, what is going on with your cam though? It just goes blur.
I don't
mode
know.
sometimes.
I don't know what's happening. I don't like it. I feel like it's a good camera too. Like I bought a new one and it started doing this.
Was that me?
Hello.
Did my internet drop?
That was
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
You're back.
No. Disaster.
The
Craig
last
was in
thing we
here.
heard you say was going high ground, you saw people like Turtle, or like they had like a 20K gold lead, it was 90-10, and then you kind of disappeared.
Yeah, maybe it's just the natural progression of like players and teams being more disciplined that they secure more of an advantage. But it did feel like there was always a 20-minute period from, let's say, 25 minutes to 45 minutes where it was about controlling the map and securing your advantage more. And nobody really would take the high ground push. The high ground push was always like force them back to base, take a tier 3 back off, right? And then you take that tier 3, you back off, you do Roshan, right? Then you take that later barracks, you wait out another Roshan, you use that Aegis to take another, you know. And like for me, I'm not saying that like I have a problem with teams playing that way, but I do feel like I wanted incentives for people to be able to shake off the timer of like, because I did the noob stream for ESL in Birmingham, and explaining to new people the cycle of take Roshan, have an Aegis, take one objective, back off, secure the map, take Roshan, go a high ground, take another objective. That became very repetitive for me as a like an observer.
I mean, I think like I don't know. I think like we're privileged in that. Okay, Quinn and because we suck, so I can't say it about ourselves. But like the top teams are good at ending games and that's why they are top teams. And I think there's a lot of teams that are like they run into this wall in their game, and then they're like, you know, they have to draft different, they have to pick different, they have to think different about how they approach the game. They play more for efficiency rather than to be aggressive in order to, you know, be able to eventually get over the hurdle that is high ground. And I think, like, for the top teams, like, when you're good, you're just good. You know how to solve these issues and you know how to, like, get over them without it causing issues for you. But I think the vast majority, because I watch a lot of, like, the, you know, I don't know, just random tournaments that I've played, I see it all the time. And I feel like it is, in my opinion, at least, generally an issue. Because it's so common in pubs that you're, like, you have some massive lead, you just can't end the game. And then, you know, like, one guy gets picked off and then the game is, like, flipped the other way because they had some better late game or whatever. And I think, like, the extent to which it was a bit too much. I don't think it should be like free to dive the base, because I also hear you in what you said, like with like it's nice that like 3 heroes can hold the base while 2 people are out farming, and that is open up avenues for like comebacks and stuff like this, which is like a good thing for Dota. Um, but I do think like this year, at least to me, has had a lot more like people just like spread out on the map and just like you can't close the game map down easily enough at some point in the game, and then you can't really go high ground either, and then you're just like, all right, well, okay, we're playing for 60 minutes now, and it's like minute 45 or something, and you already know that you have to accept that fate because you didn't close the game out fast enough. I think there was like a part of the game where it was a bit too hard to end the game if you don't do it fast enough. IMO.
I mean, I definitely agree for pubs. There are some insane throws in pubs. I just don't know if like, I guess it's like more frustrating to lose that way. But pubs are sort of random, so
Yep.
for me, it's like, and I also feel like people aren't full try-harding in pubs, like organizing actual base push. Like you'll never tell your team, just watch a carry hit. Don't dive. I mean, maybe you do,
Yeah.
but like I stopped doing that stuff. Maybe that's why I dropped 600 ranks. So
I mean, I also think sort of like related to this is this map has not been out for very long, and I think people are not as good at doing things as they could be that they were on the old map. And I think like some of that factors into how long it takes people to go high ground or how hard it is for people to go high ground in that like the top teams will figure stuff out quicker and understand like how to do these things faster, but like the general populace and bad teams, it will take longer and they won't understand things about how to close stuff out yet or how to go high ground or whatever. And so like you need time for that to catch up because the old map existed for a really long time. And eventually it became Unreal solved and everyone could do this crap with their eyes closed. It was way too easy. Like they needed to make a bigger map or the game would be perma solved. It was Jover for that map. But I think this one is, I mean, it's not the inverse. Like people got better at figuring stuff out faster. Like people are figuring this map out way faster than they figured the old one out because people sucked back then. But it's not figured out, and people suck at a lot of things still. And I think that factors into it some as well.
Do you feel like that's resulting in a bigger gap between like the top 6, top 4 teams and the rest of the field? Do you feel like there's a bigger gap between that grouping of teams than previously? Because
I mean,
Personally-
I think the gap is different than before.
okay,
Because I think like on the old map, for example, like let's say the Lima major times, because I think that's at least in my mind the time you're talking about, Quinn. But like the map was super figured out, and like everything from like specific like wards to like everything was like very very specific where you should put them for optimal like whatever. Um, and I think then the game just became like, can you like play the lanes well enough? Because if you do and you get ahead, then there's no way you're gonna lose because it's just everything is so mapped out, and there's just like this perfect way to do it so you don't lose. And I think like then the gap became like, all right, well, can you play lanes? Can you play the first 5 minutes well enough, or you just lost? And I think like with the map change, it became some other stuff that are factored in as well. So like suddenly now, can you play the map? Can you do this or that? And it becomes like other factors that create the gap. But I think the gap is still like there regardless of this map or the old map.
okay,
In my mind. Yeah.
all right, fair enough. That's kind of it for me. I mean, actually, out of curiosity, Curtis, you became a coach, but I also know you studied sociology back when you were in university. Did you ever finish that degree?
no, I dropped out.
Okay. Why did you want to study sociology?
I mean, honestly, going into university for high school, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, but I thought I wanted to go to law or teaching. And
Mm.
sociology was like sort of like it was interesting to me in high school at least. I was like sort of unsure. But yeah, that's all. Now
Okay.
I'm missing the big bucks, so
Do you feel like some of those same interests are kind of what led you to coaching? Because I felt like there was maybe some sort of tie there. Feel
I
like
mean, I'm
there's similar strengths.
definitely interested in like group dynamics and how they play out. Like I like that aspect of life. I don't know. So
Yeah.
maybe a bit.
Fair enough. Okay. That's it. You guys got anything else? Okay.
Hope the frauds get exposed.
Yeah, as always.
As always.
We're waiting.
Praying.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching another episode of All Chat. Thank you, Curtis, for coming on. Really appreciate it. And we'll see if we can get a few more of these in before Rio. Goodbye.
Nice. Nigma's playing. Perfect timing, guys.
I was about to say
I love
checked on it.
Nigma.
I was like, I'm pretty sure that game's about to start, so I should probably wrap this up.
I was
for
actually
Curtis.
not that serious. I don't really care about watching them that much, but I do love Nigma.
Yeah.
They're back. They're owning.
Well,
Did they win like their first 2 series?
Yeah, but they lost their next one to Entity. It's a pretty bad
Well,
loss too.
Entity's owning everyone, dude.
Yeah, Entity is sort of owning.
Entity is like kings of the new patch.
Wait, I see they lost to Mouse.
Entity?
Oh.
I guess not then.
No.
Entity
2 0 Mouse.
they 2-0
Ligma
Mouse.
lost to Mouse.
Nigma lost to Mouse. But Mouse, they're peaking right now. They were just at LAN.
Man, that was some serious Kobe. Yeah, but Entity's owning everybody. Yeah, but they didn't lose to
They
Entity.
were! Wait, okay, when you talk about Nigma, you always mega go. That's how it goes.
Yes, it's true.
Nigma, I hate all Nigma haters, actually. I really hope, from the bottom of my heart, that Kuro comes back and wins like Riyadh and TI back to back. Nothing would bring me more joy. I hope Nigma
That
wins
would
like,
make you happy.
every event for a year straight. Actually would bring me so much joy. I just want I want them to like at some point win and then like for Kuro to go on the interview and just like shit talk Reddit.
That's a
Look at the
good
shit.
share.
Can you see the armrest? It's like
I can see it getting warped. Oh,
yeah,
bottom
it's
is
really
God.
good. Yeah, it's. So I built a new chair when I got home.
Nice.